transition is big, but it comes in all different sizes and it happens all the time. And if we look around us, we'll see it's always happening around us. And we tend to want to make things stable and stay where it's comfortable. But there's just this welling up of nature that wants to bring life to things and to change. And it's constantly changing. And we're part of that. So if we can take that as an example, it makes our life a little bit easier to live. And as people, as something ends in someone's life, then we always think that things are up in the air, or that anything that changes us makes us feel, it's almost like when we're going to take the next step, we have to move our body. Like we can't just stand still, we have to move. But life is always asking us to move, always asking us to learn something more and to just bring what was that seed of who we are to fruition. And so if we don't move, things happen, like illnesses, accidents, divorces, new jobs, new relationships. Something is there to make us look at where we were stuck, or the negative things that were happening to us, or the positive, and to learn something. And so you also see in nature the times when it rests. So there's an ending, and then there's this rest period, and then something starts to happen again. And that something is dependent on what you are aware of. It may be direct, but it may also be more subtle. So you might, in the resting place, is the place that we get very anxious. Like nothing seems to be happening in my life, I'm not doing anything right. Or people get depressed, or people get really doubting that what they're doing, like all those things come up. So it's that time, and I've gone through those times enough now that when that time comes, it's like a space telling me it's time to stop, go in, disengage, reflect on what's been happening, and take the learnings from that and sit with it, or do chanting, practice. And so out of that may come some opportunity that you didn't expect, a dream, a symbol, or a sign that says, this is the right time, this is an opportunity to move. This is a friend tells you about something, and it automatically clicks, and it all works out, and you begin to see that there's a change happening, and then you can get into the change, looking at what's happening, and then that life starts coming back. There's little signs of growth, and then you can keep that reflection time as part of your life. But we all know that everything is going to change, and everything finishes, and everything rests, and everything starts again. Usually we're holding on to wanting to be the same. So, or to make things secure and stable, and that's fine, but it has to be an inside feeling of strength and stability. And it comes from knowing what you know, and feeling that you have, that you can have that time. And you have this strength to say, I can take the next step. I can see the signs. I can see that I have to do something different. but it's a process of acknowledging that there is another step. And it's almost like in doing the spiritual practice, is that the seed of that spiritual practice is the bridge to the next step. Because you know inside that there's more than the body and the mind. There's this other subtler part that can carry you to that other dimension. And so when we know that, when we can acknowledge that, then life, we don't want it to stop. We want to keep exploring and experiencing and letting go and accepting. All those things that seem, oh yeah, well someone says just let go of that. But it's a process. In taking the next step would be all these different processes that if we have something we can go back to in ourselves each time, acknowledge, this is right for me. Then it begins to make sense, your life. I think for a lot of people, if we get into a place like that, it's unknown territory. It's like, what is my next step? Or what am I doing here? So finding that we could live through, that we can go into the unknown and survive. And I think that's another transition of like building that kind of courage and trust and overcoming the doubts that what we can actually do, because we're always putting limits on ourselves. And so it's a matter of whatever stage you're in, whatever age you're in, is to have that inner strength so that you can manage the chaotic times or the difficult times and not sort of push them away, but rather embrace them as part of living. And even in those situations where there's the dynamic of positive and negative, or doubt and trust, or promise and I've got other things to do. There's a place where you persevere in whatever you're doing, and that is the impetus to keep everything moving. So like often people will just stop, but it's not the kind of stopping that encourages the next step. It's the kind of stopping where this happened to me and I resent it, and it's too hard for me, and this is not fair, that kind of stopping, instead of this is stopping what's happening. Can I look into it? Can it become part of who I am? Can I deal with this? And it's everything from sometimes it's what we don't expect is going to stop us. It could be just someone's rejection, or it could be an illness, or it could be something positive, like you've got a different job and just what you wanted, but you still have a loss of your own other freedom. And it's that time to come in, and it feels very chaotic, and it's not exactly what you expected. And so you can see then that once we've made these transitions a number of times, then I'm going to survive. I'm going to learn. I'm going to be helpful in this situation, rather than I'm going to stop and I'm going to resent this, and I'm going to, and then they resent and talk about it for the rest of their life. And it doesn't help. Cooperate with your evolution. This is going to happen. And somehow there's a seed in each person that is going to uniquely flower at some point. whether you get bonked or whether you accept it. Yeah, it's just that life is relentless in the way that it wants to keep going. Very powerful forces that want us to become who we're supposed to be.